When Russian President Vladimir Putin dials into the virtual BRICS summit hosted by Beijing on Thursday, it will be his first time attending a forum with the heads of major economies since launching an invasion of Ukraine earlier this year. For Putin, this could offer a welcome picture, his face beamed on screen alongside other leaders whose countries make up this acronymous grouping: China's Xi Jinping, India's Narendra Modi, Brazil's Jair Bolsonaro, and South Africa's Cyril Ramaphosa, a signal that Russia, though battered by sanctions and remonstrations for the invasion, is not alone. It's a message that may resonate even more clearly as China and Russia, weeks before the invasion, declared their own relationship to have no limits, and as each of the BRICS leaders have avoided condemning Russia outright, even as they hold varying levels of interest in not being seen to endorse its actions, and run foul of Western friends. Below the surface, Putin's invasion is likely to throw another complication into BRICS, a more than a decade-old grouping of major emerging economies, which already suffers from mistrust between members and mismatched ideologies. But the decision by the group to press ahead with its 14th annual summit does reflect a view held by BRICS countries on the global order and, by extension, the situation in Ukraine, that departs from that of the West, experts say. We're talking about some very major economies whose leadership is willing to be seen with Putin, even if it is only on a virtual platform, said Sushant Singh, a senior fellow at the Center for Policy Research in New Delhi. The fact that Putin is welcome, he's not a pariah, he's not being pushed out, and this is a normal engagement, which has taken place every year and it's still taking place, that is a big plus for Putin, he said. While the countries may argue that engaging Russia is better than not, the optics only become sharper in contrast. The BRICS summit is followed days later by the meeting of a bloc of the world's leading advanced economies, the Group of Seven, which have been united in their voice against Russian aggression, and kicked Moscow out of their bloc following its annexation of Crimea in 2014. Unlike the G7, BRICS is expected to tread carefully when it comes to Ukraine at Thursday's summit, likely speaking in favor of peaceful resolution, even as its members may carefully call for Western countries to examine the impact of their sanctions on the global economy, observers say. Beijing, this year's host and by far the most economically powerful of the five nations, which together make up around a quarter of worldwide GDP, appears set to focus on its own agenda, promoting its new global development and security initiatives and pushing back on what it sees as bloc building by the United States. BRICS countries should strengthen political mutual trust and security cooperation, coordinate on major international and regional issues, accommodate each other's core interests, and oppose hegemonism and power politics, Xi said in a speech to BRICS foreign ministers last month, where he called on the group to promote development in this period of turbulence and transformation. Some of the crises of this period, like food insecurity and a rising debt crisis in the developing world, are those that the group, established in 2009 as a means to serve common interests of emerging market economies and developing countries, was ostensibly formed to address. Since its inception, BRICS, which added South Africa in 2011, has been united in calling for more representation of major emerging economies on the world stage, and against what it views as a disproportionate dominance of the Western powers. That has meant pushing for reforms at the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, and, on occasion, making a veiled jab at NATO actions. It's also seen the countries discussing issues like how to settle trade in their own currencies, outside the US dollar system, an issue that could now take more relevance for BRICS following Western sanctions on Russia, according to Shahar Hamiri, a professor and political economist at the University of Queensland in Australia. Those penalties have cut off Russia's central bank from most US dollar transactions, sanctioned banks and removed major institutions from international banking systems. That's left countries that continue to do business with Russia scrambling for ways to avoid violating sanctions. Both India and China remain heavy buyers of Russian fuel. There's not going to be any full-throated embrace of Russia, there's no doubt about it, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of awkwardness there. But behind the awkwardness is one area where these governments do have a shared interest, Hamiri said. Any kind of meaningful steps away from are potentially significant.